My name is Abdulaziz Riley, and today, me and my partners, Ryan Norman, Nick Chang, and Richard Morales, will be introducing the topic of genetic engineering, specifically the genetic engineering of salmon. So by definition, genetic engineering is the manipulation, deletion, or addition of DNA to alter, repair, or enhance an organism. As in, we are transferring genes from an organism to another to get the desired traits we want. We do this for multiple sorts of reasons, most notably to prevent disease and to produce more food.
The process of genetic engineering is a bit complicated and has a few parts. First, restriction enzymes are coded to find and recognize a specific set of nucleotide segments along a DNA strand containing the desired gene. The enzyme then cleaves the ending nucleotide segments, and we are left with a partial strand of DNA containing just the desired gene. On the picture, that would be the orange DNA fragment. By cutting out a section of the vector, the blue circle, also known as the bacterial plasmid, we can then insert our gene into the plasmid, resulting in what's called recombinant DNA. The recombinant DNA is then replicated within the bacterial culture and later inserted into the organism of choice, in this case, the salmon. Genetically modified salmon are Atlantic salmon that are treated with a growth hormone from a Chinook salmon as well as a promoter from an ocean pout. The growth hormone is removed from a Chinook salmon DNA using restriction enzymes. The growth hormone and promoter are then injected into fertilized Atlantic salmon eggs. Through selection and breeding, GM salmon are able to produce the growth hormone year-round instead of the brief time span during the summer. Due to this year-round growth, GM salmon can reach full size in 18 months rather than the full 3 years a non-GM salmon would need to mature. Despite the faster growth rate, GM salmon will not grow larger than the average Atlantic salmon. GM salmon will consume more feed in their 1.5-year maturity period than a non-GM salmon. However, the amount of feed needed for a full-size GM salmon will be 25% less than a non-GM salmon due to the increased growth time.
When comparing non-GM salmon to GM salmon, we see that GM salmon have a lower cost of production. This is due to innovations in technology and the amount of feed needed per fish. They also have a faster rate of growth, therefore increasing the production quantity of salmon. This increase in production and decrease in cost can lead to a cheaper salmon for consumers. As seen in the graph, there has been an exponential increase in the production of seafood to satisfy the customer demands. With the addition of salmon reinforcing this growth, there will be a less strain on the wild fish populations, which have been strangled in the past decades. With this in mind, cheaper salmon and other farm fish will replace wild-caught fish to some degree, increasing consumption rates of these species. Shift to genetically modifying salmon will bring a number of environmental impacts. For example, there are concerns regarding GM salmon production and the pollution of water sources. However, GM salmon is grown in spaces that are safer than going out and fishing for salmon. Another benefit of GM salmon is that they can be engineered to have less diseases and better health, but growing them in isolated spaces can result in them not developing the necessary traits to survive in the wild.
Granted, the market and stocks is not an environmental impact. However, it is included because it might be significant. GM salmon may have an effect on the production of fish food. Since GM salmon are farmed, they eat synthetic food. The large-scale farming of salmon may put a strain on that market. There's also a risk of escaping GM salmon. If a salmon escapes, the genetically modified genes may pollute the wild gene pool. These salmon do not have the necessary traits to survive in the wild. With the expansion of GM salmon farming, there may be a higher risk of escaping fish. Despite the differences in growth, there are minimal differences in health benefits between GM salmon and non-GM salmon. However, improving health benefits is not the goal of genetically modified salmon. Salmon have high levels of omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-3 is primarily found in seafood, but can also be found in nuts, seeds, and plant oils. Omega-3 has significant health benefits when regarding heart disease as well as human development. Considering the leading cause of death in the U.S. is heart disease, increasing the levels of omega-3 in American diets will help combat this epidemic. Since GM salmon expands the market and can provide a cheaper alternative, more consumers will consume salmon over other meats with lower omega-3 levels.